Chapter 29. Sprinkle me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me with water, and I shall be whiter than snow. For 30 years, Maharshi has held his office and performed his mission here in this quiet, little-known corner of India, not through preaching and lecturing about spiritual truth, which he has realized to such an amazing degree, but by his very presence. Like a lofty beacon whose beams point the way to safe harbor for all on the high seas who are searching for a haven. So this great rishi of India sheds light on those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Day after day, year after year, he is here in the ashram and always approachable for all people during the greater part of the day, full of silence and peace, such as are possessed only by those who have attained the highest spiritual achievement. These thoughts rush through my mind like a stream from a source far away in the high mountains, unknown to me. I do not try to discover those heights, as I would probably have tried to do some time ago. Why should a man seek light when he is facing its very source? This light permeates our being through and through, to give us an insight into all the mistakes and imperfections of our ego, our little insignificant personality. The presence of the source makes it possible for the rays to penetrate our being naturally and most infallibly from within and not from without. So there is no fear of an imposition or suggestion of anything from outside. Then begins the slow process of purification, arising out of the contemplation of the living example. I notice that some of my blunders and so-called sins, which seem to be deeply rooted during the years of my former life, have now become anachronisms, in fact, impossibilities. Some inner moods, formerly rather frequent and provoking much suffering and conflict, are now dissolved like a distant mist. And the uncertainty so common to all human beings, as a matter of fact, their constant companion from the cradle to the grave, an uncertainty covered up by all kinds of theories, religious practices, and the membership of different organizations founded and guided by men, as by they themselves, is slowly disappearing from my consciousness and giving way to the dawn of a new life. Sitting every day, as long as I can, at the feet of the sage, I have neither the time nor desire for a careful analysis of the changes taking place in my being. I know that whatever is happening should be so. I also know that I have to struggle with all the obstacles imposed by the unreal world, which seem to pull me back to roads I have left and to lead me astray. But all in vain. When once we clearly realize that these were byways, there cannot be any return to them. My personality, of course, is not quite happy about it all, for it has to keep silent during these hours over which it was formerly an all-powerful ruler. The thought of salvation, so often dimming the sight of those who seek a selfish heaven, now seems ridiculous. The real salvation will come when the very object seeking salvation disappears. The activity of the perverse mental poison manifesting itself in a comparison of oneself to others is also dying out. And the real meaning of the words of all great teachers of humanity from time immemorial and repeated in many eras and in different forms, seems to open before my understanding. Why cannot the world perceive this one and the same essence of their teachings? Why does it give its narrow interpretation to their words, to suit its own convenience, and to avoid all effort? Once Maharshi, when asked what is the primordial sin spoken of by one of the great religions of the world, answered, "It is the illusion of a separate personal existence." That is indeed the source and root of all blunders and sufferings. In truth, what can be expected from withdrawing into a narrow circle of selfish personal life? Only an unavoidable destruction of the man who is himself, putting a sword into the hands of death, whose duty is to annihilate that which really has never been more than nothingness. I see that the writing of these fragments of my meditations takes far more time than my consciousness needed to realize them during the time of the actual experience. It is somewhat similar to a film, actually, in which only seconds and minutes are needed to take individual scenes and events, while it requires an hour or so to contemplate the completed product. My next thought is, why look at the film at all? This evening, when leaving the hall after meditation, I stopped on the steps of the temple, facing the drive leading out of the ashram compound to the high road. In the infinite spaces of the starry sky, innumerable universes are scattered, looking down on our earth, always the same, always distant, and yet now so near. These immensities, these infinities of space, no longer evoke in me feelings of nothingness as they did when I believed in the reality of their existence. It was an illusion which is created when we look at everything from the point of view of our own impermanent physical form. But when the belief in the reality of our body vanishes, the whole film of the cosmos appears to be nothing more than it really is, a play of light and shadow.